Well, I guess we're off to a great start, everyone. Hello, happy Friday. Not sure what happened to the intro video there, but hopefully you can see me and you can hear me. Welcome to Oz and Agatha. I am Kev. Glad to have you here. What is up, head bug? Shout out. I am also excited. Appreciate it. The thumbnail love. I am now up to the point where it takes 3 different apps on my phone for me to get the desired result for these thumbnails, but, it's more of an addiction than anything. It's just I have to keep diving further down the thumbnail road until, I find whatever it is I'm looking for there. So happy Friday. Yeah, nothing happened. We had a great intro. Everything worked exactly as it was supposed to. So that is wonderful. We'll give a couple of minutes here to everybody get in and get situated. So forgive the intro. For those who know the obligatory intro, if you're watching this in the future, just skip ahead a little bit. But this is Oz and Agatha, or most weeks really Agatha and Oz, but stupid me, I already named it because we do tend to talk about Agatha first, which will be the case again today. We've got a VIP fan, a viewer, I hate that first word, overseas that I know wants to talk about Agatha theories. So we're going to focus on that show first, then move into Penguin. We'll try to go for about an hour. We'll do at least a good 20 minutes on each show, but some of it depends on what all of you want to talk about. So I want to get it out early. We will be ending each segment with some theory. I don't want to call it theory time. We need a name for it. The theory segment is what we'll go with for today. So at that point in time, if you really don't want things spoiled for you, maybe that will be a good time to leave, because while we can't guarantee any of our theories will be spoilers, especially when it comes to Agatha, we're getting closer and closer to having certain leaks potentially be confirmed. So it's going to be really hard not to talk about predictions and spoilers without just kind of addressing the witch in the room, or witches technically. So when the time comes, I will let you know. But for both Agatha and then at the end for Oz as well, we will dive into some theory crafting. So there we have it. We're about 4 minutes in now. I think I've done enough to get us warmed up, but we will be, of course, doing a bit of our obligatory plot walkthrough. Um, and this one, we have another episode 4 of Agatha All Along. We have another trial. This one immediately right up my alley when it comes to just not only the setting, but the multiple different references to other horror media that I love. So some of you may have seen there were some shots that called back to Suspiria, which I believe was in 74 film. A wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, I won't vouch as much for the sequel, even though I'm pretty sure I watched it, but I don't remember much. The 1974 movie, the original Suspiria, pretty awesome. About a rookie ballet student who finds out. Well, spoiler alert. You know what? I'll just let you alone. It's it's very Agatha-esque. So it was a great thing to pay homage to. There was also some camera angles that reminded me of the Evil Dead. So we had some of that. Not only that, but a little inside baseball with you folks over here. Big Fleetwood Mac guy. So to see that the mother's band, Lorna Woo's band, was sort of looked like very much it was paying homage to Fleetwood Mac, and the fact that they even had and a plaque or some kind of poster calling out to the band specifically. All of those things got me just fired up, ready to go. Hell yeah! I'm not alone. Although not a hot take, right? But I tell you what, Stevie Nicks, I would probably marry a cassette tape of Stevie Nicks' disembodied voice. There you go. So there it is. Now you know a little something about me. But anyway, getting into this one, we start with the end of last episode. Mrs. Hart is gone, and Agatha, as if it weren't obvious enough, doesn't care, doesn't give a shit. Now, I think that this was more to make it even more eventful at the end when we see that maybe there is somebody that she does care about, which, you know what? Spoiler alert now. Okay. We won't go, we may not dive heavy into them right away, but if you're here, just know that spoilers are on the table. All right. Going forward, if you want to avoid any and all spoilers, go watch the show. I both shows. I suggest them both. I think they're both pretty fun and have some mysteries, some unsolved questions that I think are fun looking into. So there you go. Spoiler free section is over. Damn it. We are now in Spoiler City. Henceforth, back to the plot line. Agatha and the crew have an argument. They have a debate over whether or not they need to bring another witch in to replace Mrs. Hart. Agatha, in classic form. And I went back actually this week and watched the last 3 episodes of WandaVision, where you get the Agatha reveal and she starts to behave as we know her now. Because I wanted to see how accurate they had been keeping with the character, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But in true form, she continues to try to manipulate everybody, arguing the lyrics of the Witch's Road, that they could get there with Coven 2, and noticeably for future reference, she points out, among other things, well, paraphrasing here, who cares that she's dead? More power for the rest of us, right? So hold on to that one, because I think that's going to come into play later with a scene that we'll talk about here shortly. They inevitably go through the ritual of calling down a. I wish I could remember all of the ways they described the witch. The favorite one of mine was when she just asked for her not to be too political. I thought that was a fun way for a show to kind of call out something that plenty people, I think, or we're divided on this one, right? Some people don't like the politics at all. Some people are only okay if is in line with their politics. Other than that, they don't want to see it. And these particular showrunners, we can't hold them accountable for all the other sins of Disney. So I did like that there was a joke about, not not getting too political with the character. And then obviously we get the pleasant looking Rio, played by the one and only Aubrey Plaza, who, again, there will probably be a lot of theory talk around this character later on in the episode. But she confirms that she is not a Green Witch, but the Green Witch. Sorry, can't quite do the voice. And one thing that I kind of wanted to stop here to maybe ask the audience for some thoughts on this, because I can't quite decide because of the deceptive nature of Rio and, of course, Agatha. When they first call Rio out, she's running around as if she's never been here before. Like, oh, hey, this is cool. Very almost whimsical. And Headbug, yeah, you were right. Shouts out on that one, was right about it being her, being the Black Heart. So I'm wondering if this is Rio's first time walking the road, or if that is all part of whatever act is going on. We know she states that she has some pretty unpleasant intentions for the group, so it might be in her best interest just to pretend like she has never been there before, even though she may be the most well versed in walking the road. Who knows, for all we know? But I'm thinking that her intent was is to just make everyone think this is a new place for her. And let's see, Headbug says no, they have been there together. Remember, Agatha is asked how many survived alongside her, and she holds up one finger. Good call there. That that is right. She did say that someone survived with her. That makes sense. I'll just add to that the um oh darn, I just lost it. Said Agatha, remember Agatha is asked how many survived together and she holds up one finger. Ah, okay. Yes. When they talk about their scars, Rio mentions that her scar was another person because she had to do something that was her job, mind you, which, I know those who know the leak probably kind of confirms a couple of things that we were thinking maybe hey, I've seen false leaks before. The MCU does make attempts to throw us off the scent here, but in the conversation, the way I understand it to be, potential spoilers here, is that Rio was there with Agatha and it was Rio's responsibility one way or another to take care of Nicholas, so to speak. I really got to watch how I phrase that here on YouTube, but I think you know what I'm saying. And that is the part that Agatha cannot forgive her for. So that would line up as well, right? That they would be there at the end together at the end of the road where Agatha is looking for this power. And all that stuff kind of lines up for me, Headbug. So I think you are right there. You also thought they were lovers turned enemies, and that does seem pretty accurate as well. They've been laying that on pretty thick. It seems like in this last episode, they at least want us to think that for sure. Now I can't rule out a potential swerve, but that's where I'm at with it as well, Headbug, currently. So then we get into the main portion of the episode, which, as far as we understand, I can't remember the exact number of episodes we have here, but essentially every episode is going to be a trial. It's going to have its own themes. And in this one, it was Lorna Woo's version of The Witch's Road and them having to play it. And this one, again, the aesthetic of this is so fun for me personally, just because when you go into them talking about backmasking was essentially what they were doing, playing the record backwards. And, I must admit that I've watched a documentary or two before about the death of Paul McCartney. And you have probably all heard about the satanic panic and all of these wild things that was alleged to be uh, put into Beatles albums, Led Zeppelin albums, what ACDC. There's a ton, way more than even that, where the thought was if you play it backwards, you will hear certain things, never pointing out, mind you, how strong the power of suggestion is in the human mind. So if I tell you something says, "Oh, I all hail Satan," and then I play it for you, your brain is going to be like, "Oh, well, yeah, I think I hear it." But I digress. We don't need to talk about backmasking too much, but the whole aesthetic of the old rock and roll being the devil, and just the 70s in general. Those of you who hung out for Danny and I's Late Night with the Devil talk know just how much of a vibe that was for me. And the idea of them having to once again play music. It was a fun way to do that scene, and I love how the most musically talented among them all is the one resorted to like playing the chime, and I feel like that had to be done as a tongue-in-cheek reference to her skills. Also, love that she was dressed as her friend Liza Minnelli, um, Lucille too. For those who know, oh, what up? Johnny is in the house. Oz Cobb is hashtag good. And just a reminder for anybody else hopping in, yeah, we will still be talking about the Penguin. That'll be coming up here following the Agatha segment. But oh man, we have a lot to say about that show as well. So welcome in, Johnny. We get a few different things here. to try to move through it briskly, so we don't have to go beat by beat here. This is not every frame a pause after all. We have them play the music to defeat the curse, which is manifested as a little demon looking thing, which kind of gave me from Dusk Till Dawn vibes. The way they were, sorry, stupid. Yes, delete it on X, remove. Okay, that's fine. Forgive me, gang. StreamYard gave me an urgent alert that I could not stream onto Twitter, and now it is just blocking the whole screen here. So there we go. We're back. We're back. Okay, what was I saying? Dusk Till Dawn. I love that movie if you haven't seen it, but the little winged demon kind of reminded me of the spoiler alert. Dusk Till Dawn spoilers. Run if you haven't seen it. Ramblers get rambling. They are these like weird little vampire demon deals, and the idea of a band playing during the fight scene that's how it happens in that. But so I got some enjoyment out of the whole way this was constructed. But we get some more hints at the greater plot. I guess I kind of have to go back here for a second. And before I do, we'll read Headbug's comment here. I like how we are discovering and looking into each witch's intentions as we go. Episode 4 was based on Alice's motivations, understanding, finding her mother. And that is right. That's spot on. We are seeing, they basically each, I mean, you put it very well. So I'm just kind of retweeting what Headbug said here. They have this journey of discovery. They all have something they're going to have to face. And what we know from what we can glean from the upcoming episode will be, I think the leaves were pink, right? So it's going to be the episode where we have the good witch. And I believe this will be the one where we see all of the stereotypical witch things. And that will be part of that character's journey dealing with that. So they are kind of hitting us with what these themes will be throughout. So that's fun to look into. But again, that is sort of going to be the underlying story, or the focus of each episode. What is up, Shadow? Heads up, brother. We are talking about the show that you really don't like right now at the start. I don't know how you feel about the Penguin, but we will get there in the second half here, probably in like 15-20 minutes or so. But right now we're chatting through Agatha All Along. So I will understand if I don't see you further, but I appreciate you stopping by, brother. Happy Friday. I hope you're doing well. Penguin is good. I'm very excited to talk about that and a couple of theories we've got going on, but damn, I am loving the Penguin. To finish off with the Agatha spot here, I do think it was interesting. I think the road is trying to get rid of Billy, because explain this to me, and maybe someone in the audience that maybe saw something I didn't see, let me know if I'm missing something here. But it seemed like he just got stabbed he has not had to deal with the same trials. Like, it wasn't the same. He didn't get burned in the same way that the witches did. He just got stabbed by the demon. And he had made some comment like, this means I'm part of the coven, right? But I feel like it's the opposite, right? That he's not undergoing the whole thing. So I thought that was just another sign that he's still an outsider. I believe, spoiler alert theory, I think that this is going to be the character Wiccan. So I think this is going to be a very powerful magic user in the MCU, a young Avenger potentially. So I think that's where we're going. Headbug says, I think Billy is Agatha's test. And Stu is here. Gotta love it. Shout out to Stu. Shout out to James out there, our other dweeb. And while Stream Elements is doing its thing, just a reminder, Danny and I are talking Vincent Kennedy McMahon on Sunday morning. It's phenomenal. The not necessarily the little preview, I guess, to my thoughts at least. Not necessarily the show phenomenal, but our conversation, I think, will be, because this is stuff that I have been following for years now, and a lot of it is new to him. So we're gonna have a blast talking about it, getting into things that weren't covered, and probably why they weren't covered. So be sure to check that out. But he thinks Billy is Headbug thinks Billy is Agatha's test. I agree with that. Do you have any thoughts on who put that sigil on Billy, and if those thoughts were changed at all by episode 4? Um, is there going to be a connection? Because there's ties to Nicholas as well. So are we going to get a new hybrid version of Wiccan? This show has already done a lot, I think, with Agatha that was not in the comics. They're kind of branching out, doing their own thing here. So is it possible that we're just going to get a new origin for this character and it won't be the same? Ooh, Shadow, you bring up something good. I'm going to come back to that in a second. It would make sense that if Billy is Wanda's son, then Agatha will have to face the conundrum that she cares about her enemy's son. Ooh, that would be pretty good. I like that as well, and especially Agatha has been such a steaming pile throughout most of this, and they're kind of doing the same thing, I think, in this show that they did with WandaVision, where you're like, okay, Wanda's doing is pretty awful, but Agatha is the real evil person here. And now Agatha's been not necessarily watered down, but kind of, she's not being viewed. Most of her evil stuff is being painted in like a comedic light. And then you have this dark brooding knife wielding character that's probably going to be worse. So that's was one of the questions that I had for the docket today that I'll just go ahead and pop out now and give you guys a chance to answer. And then we're going to look at Shadow's comment here. This will come back up when we talk about Oz, but we'll focus on Agatha for right now. Are they trying to turn Agatha into a sympathetic hero character, or is she going to get what Colin Farrell has told us to expect from Oz Cobb? Is she going to get back to the point by the end of this season where she's a heinous, hated individual? Like, are we going on a false ride here where at the end she was Agatha all along and it's all been a ruse and these people will die and it will be bad? And then we maybe have, a good villain. I hate to even say it, right now, look around. Any decent villain Marvel had, they, for whatever reason, wasted in one movie instead of trying to build it up. You get Christian Bale to play a guy who can take out gods, and then you just like one B tier Thor movie. That's all that gets. That's Russell Crowe just fucking mailing it in. It's good. Shadow says she's playing a really good crazy person. The acting is phenomenal. And then I like this one right here. So he said, "Hey, what's up with that Menendez brothers show?" Little brief tangent here while you guys let me know what your thoughts are on is Agatha going to be good or bad by the end of this. I will probably be watching this now. I am a notorious cheapskate, and so I don't pay for all of the streaming services at once. But in order for me to watch this Vince McMahon thing and talk to Danny about it, I had to get a month of Netflix, and I saw that Menendez brothers show. I've seen lots of YouTube content about it, but it sounds like it's going to be a lot like this Vince McMahon thing where there are good portions of the story that are missing. So I will definitely check that out. And then whether it comes up on a Monday or we just do a solo stream about it, would definitely like to talk about it. I do have, I don't want to say, I don't know if it's like a guilty pleasure. I don't really believe in that sort of thing, but I will tune into some true crime every once in a while. I don't know why I'm dancing around it so much, but I don't mind tuning into that stuff. I can't do it too regularly because I find that to get depressing if you're just listening to murder talk all day. And just kind of can put you in a mood. But every once in a while, because it's very fascinating to me how these things even fucking happen at all. So I do find this particular case to be pretty nuts. And also, I had that Mark Jackson card growing up. I think I still have it somewhere with both of those two bastards in the front row at a Knicks game. Life is wild. Let me see here. Headbug says there is so much connection between Billy and Nicholas. Maybe she goes even crazier when she realizes who Billy is and could go very dark on that one. Knowing that she cares for Reed's son in the comic books, it would make sense to me that she became humanized. That could be that's a good point, and that's something. Thank you for bringing that up because I don't have that depth of level to the comics. Her time in the comics. What up, Harles? Shout out Harles Barkley. True crime can be done tastefully. I think some podcast shows have kind of sullied it. Yeah, there has. I mean, my God, we want to talk about a saturated market. Um, what really the the genre that gets me, and I don't mean this as a knock, and forgive this tangent. This will be a part of any time I go solo. I'm sorry, I promise. You can just expect this from me. I love the chat. I love interacting with you guys. If you may end up being a squirrel that I go chase for a couple of minutes, so apologies. But yeah, true crime, you just have some of these when the ladies started doing like the makeup videos where they're like putting on makeup while they talk about true crime. I was like, holy shit, like we have really expanded this market like to the furthest extent it could go. Like I don't think there's a new way to do true crime. What's it, a Bailey something is one that I've seen. I mean, and hey, all the props to her because goddamn, she's got a library of fucking content. And I've never had to put makeup on once in my life, but I couldn't imagine trying to shave my head in front of all of you and still read a script and talk through it. So I'm not knocking it. I just that was the moment I was like, Jesus, there's a lot of true crime out there. Shouts out to Jim Can't Swim, one of my favorite true crime. Bailey Sarian. There we go. Thank you, Harles. I hate how people romanticize serial killers. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's the devil that comes with that one, though, where it's like this weird, we all have this morbid curiosity to it. Because otherwise, we wouldn't have this abundance of the podcast. And I mean, shit, there were 17 different Chris Watts documentaries. I think they're still coming out with them. This Menendez brothers stuff, like we're still getting. A few years ago, it was the Ted Bundy tapes, and then they had what's his name? Evan Peters played Dahmer. That talk about romanticizing serial killers. That Dahmer show was weird, dude. Who was that made for? I don't understand that one at all. It is wild. Shadow said when he's talk about the penguin chick here. She's really good at playing a crazy person. Deep cut from the Clout crew. I saw a tweet go viral that was just the last scene of her when she's like, "What do you say, Oz? You in?" And the quote just said, "I can fix her." And by God, no, I can't imagine trying to fix the hangman. But yes, dude, she is phenomenal. Kind of just takes over the scene, like such an imposing figure. I remember the one of my favorite scenes so far was just when, even the way it was shot, when Oz is trying to bullshit his way through and he starts talking about the drops, and then she just comes into frame. Anyway, I will gush over the penguin here soon. Would you fix her, Kevin? No, I know better. I know better. Those dead eyes. It's in the eyes. They never lie. So we have gotten through most of the plot there for Agatha. So I want to throw out real quick before we move into the Oz portion of the show. What are some thoughts? And again, potential spoilers here. We think we know who Rio is. Is it possible that that is a red herring, that it was a false leak? Because there's a couple of things. like a doll's eyes. Chad, you guys got me. Shadow would fix her. Rio gave up baby Nicholas, and Agatha got big mad. So I want to talk about who we think Rio is before we move on. And by the way, fire away any other questions, thoughts, theories that you have while we're here. But there have been a couple of moments. And so, again, the final warning, we're about to talk about the leak. I can't pretend like I haven't seen it. And now, to talk about the theory, you have to talk about the potential that Rio is Mistress Death. And there is a moment where Teen is being sat on some stumps and they're trying to figure out how to heal her. And there's a very focused moment where Agatha looks at Rio, who's kind of like geared up, ready to go, and is just like, "Don't, please, don't," as if she's asking Rio specifically not to kill the young man. However, there's also a moment at the very beginning of Rio's time with the group where they ask if she is a green witch. And again, you heard my bad take on that voice earlier, but she says, "No, I am the green witch," which means maybe she's not Mistress Death, an agent of Mephisto after all. Maybe she is the Green Man, not to be confused with Charlie Kelly's wonderful Green Man, but the Green Man of Celtic lore, who's probably, now that I'm thinking about it, probably one and the same. If we're being honest with ourselves, I don't think there's a difference. I think Charlie is our Celtic Green Man. All right, so mark that one down. That's not even a theory time. That's just fact. But I'm interested to hear if any of you have some thoughts on where that is going. Are we going to be seeing more of this character in the extended MCU? I don't know if there's any intention of being multiple Agatha seasons. We talked about that before, whether we think she'll be slated to be a hero or a villain after this. Maybe it will be a role reversal now that well, I was gonna say now that we have Scarlet Witch as a villain, but she's probably been reset now once she gets out from under all of those rocks. She'll probably be a hero again. So I don't know if I'm looking at this as like I was like a wrestling booker. If I was booking the MCU, I'd think, man, we have a lot of good guys here and no good villains that people want to see get beat up by these guys. So what are we doing? We need more villains. So what I would do if it were me, I would be using all this misdirection to get us to warm up to Agatha. So that way, when the knife gets stuck in and twisted, it stings that much more. And as a crowd looking forward to the story, we just can't wait to see her knocked out. Now they're probably going to try to do that with Doom, but they already fucked up Doom. Did we talk about this? We've talked about this on the channel. They had the perfect guy, and instead it's Rob Downey Jr. It'll be fine. We're not gonna talk about it. It'll be fine. I'm sure that the Russos will figure it out. I'm sure I have all the faith in the world. Let's see what Headbug has to say. Okay, so Rio and Agatha walked the road and were the survivors. Rio gave up old Nicky Scratch for the Darkhold. Agatha got big mad and stole the Darkhold for herself, starting the cycle of her stealing powers, which would then feed us probably right into the scene in Wanda. Yeah, you're right, Harles. That's probably going to lead us right. Just watched that one earlier today where she gets attacked by her coven. So, I mean, that would track as I'm following along with what you were saying. I believe that sets everything into motion. So I like that plan, Headbug. I think that is going to be it's quite possibly going to be the reveal there. I imagine that we're going to be seeing Billy turned into a larger character. I know they have a bunch of the Young Avengers. That is going to be one, and there are so many signs that that's who this is at this point. Just with the outfits, and just the character traits. Like there are certain little hints of things that might be going on that would track well with the comic character as well. So I genuinely think we're going to be seeing Wiccan come out here soon, but I think that's going to put a wrap on my thoughts on Agatha for now. I am still enjoying it. Like I said, um, interested to see where it goes. I am ready to switch gears now into what is quite possibly my favorite TV show that's come out in a while. It feels very odd to be reviewing both a Marvel and a DC show. Well, really, to have anything running on Disney Plus and me not have just an abundance of negative things to say. I contribute some of it to my consistently dropping expectations. So, expectations are the enemy. If you expect nothing, you can only be pleasantly surprised. Something like that. But when we get into episode 2 of The Penguin, we're going to be talking about this whole dynamic again, like I mentioned it before, with, are you guys rooting for Oz at this point? Uh, is he going to end up becoming, by the end, the kingpin of Gotham City? Or is this going to be a character that gets swallowed up and is gone by the time the next Batman movie comes out? Will he even be a factor in Gotham, or will there be different characters involved? Um, we'll go through the plot. I'll try to do it more quickly with this one because there's a lot more to talk about just with characters and dynamics and theories that I don't want to spend too much time running through the plot. But we will talk about it, briefly hit some bullet points, and then dive in. We see a few things about Sophia, where she's sleeping in her closet in her room, still clearly affected by the Arkham living situation. She has a bad dream in her therapist's office. And you know what? We're just going to do it. We're going to stop along the way and talk about these things because Julian Rush, I think, may be a bit of a red herring. That is a smaller character in the Batman universe, but the fact that he is a therapist using some sort of hypnotherapy situation, and the fact that Sophia and Alberto were working on some kind of new drug that would change the game forever leads me to believe that this guy could possibly be the Scarecrow in this universe. He seems to have this weird relationship going on. Got it? You mean what could go wrong there? A, you're a therapist banging your patient. Great, 10 out of 10, no notes. Also, she's a murderer. That's smart. I mean, that guy has a PhD. It has to be a ruse. He has to be a super villain. No chance. Dumb. But it's also a decently known character actor. I can't think of the character's name now from Sons of Anarchy, but he's a guy. He's not just like a featured extra. He seems like a guy you're going to be seeing more of. It's hinted at strongly that he and Sophia have a little something going on. But could it be possible that in a universe that does borrow heavily from the comics all the time, as much as it can, which I love, is it maybe going to borrow some other elements? I know that seems a little like Batman Begins, but it's a potential route they could go. I've also heard theories, of course, as you would when there's a mystery drug going around, that could it be Bane's toxin that's going around, that's going to be coming out in the city. So that will be interesting to keep an eye on. But I think there could be more going on with the therapist character. But for what it's worth, all of that Batman stuff is really just icing on the cake for me with this show right now. Like, it's just holding its water as just a crime drama, just a mob style. Uh, I'm in the shit, playing both sides. Real anti-hero kind of stuff. I mean, like I mentioned before with Wanda and Agatha, and then Agatha and Rio. There are worse individuals around the Penguin that I think at times can kind of soften him up. But let's not forget, poor Victor, uh, the punishment he's received for what I mean, I think was petty theft, right? He was trying to take rims off a dude's car. Oh man, I'm not saying there should be no punishment, but this kid's thought he was going to die several times, and I wonder if him laying in that grave is foreshadowing. I think there's a possibility here that if Oz does become the kingpin and he successfully gets Maroney's and Falcone's fighting, um, that perhaps Victor could end up being a fall guy for some of his uh, deeds that go wrong. I mean, that's all we've seen so far is something happens and Oz finds a way to blame that on somebody else. And in some cases, that could be the most useful Victor will be to him is as a fall guy. That sounds like five shadowing. So I I think a couple of things have been laid out for us with the Victor character in this episode. One, at some point in time, Victor is going to think on his feet and come up with a solution. And I assume, natural convention would tell you that he'll save Oz from a jam by thinking on his feet. But if this goes the old tragedy route, perhaps Victor thinking on his feet and making a quick decision is counterintuitive to what Oz might do, and it actually springs the trap or screws Oz over permanently. So I'm not sure. I really think Victor is going to have one of those two paths. Again, I'd like to hear what you guys think will be the outcome for the Penguin. Me personally would like to see this end with him being atop of the mob family, or at least involved. I don't want to see this end in Penguin's death. I would like to know that he's still out there as a part of the potential Batman sequel that's coming and whatever it gets capped off with in the trilogy. Um, but if he is to go down, like if he's done, Colin Farrell said he doesn't want to put that suit back on. So maybe, maybe we won't ever see him again, and he will actually very poetically end up the same way. There have been a couple of times he's referenced some folks that have passed on that I think, again, could be alluding to his potential fate. In the first episode, when he's talking to Alberto about doing things differently, and he talks about this old mob boss that had had everybody's respect and took care of everybody, and when he died, they had like a parade for him. It's ultimately what gets Berto shot because he's laughing at how ridiculous he thinks that is. But then in this episode, you get a story told to Victor about essentially how Oz got the job. He doesn't know how to drive. He gets a job as a driver, learns how to drive in a weekend. But one of what was Falcone's driver was caught talking, being an informant, and was killed. So that could again be foreshadowing uh, what's going to happen to Oz when he inevitably gets caught playing both sides. Because who's to say that he won't burn so many bridges that he doesn't have to end up turning to the police? I doubt Batman's going to be involved in this at all, and I'm kind of fine with it. I don't necessarily need him. This doesn't feel like a Batman story. Like if he just came in and started kicking ass, maybe for the final scene, if you want to do like Darth Vader Rogue One situation, where if it's the very end of the show, like the series finale, and then in that way, it works as a transition back into the Batman cinematic universe, something like that. I'd be cool with, but otherwise, I don't need it. I am enjoying uh, Colin Farrell's portrayal. I agree with Shadow's take earlier about Sophia Falcone. Probably right now, my second favorite character based on what we've seen. I love the actor that plays Johnny Vitti. He was one of my favorite characters in House of Cards, which is a difficult show to mention or give any praise to for a handful of reasons, but he was not one of them. So I love a good mob drama, crime thriller, however you want to pin it down. So I'm having a lot of fun with this. But we get to see, going back to what I was saying about Victor and just Oz in general, he gets put in the spot where he has to ride along with the drops and, murders his own men. So he has absolutely no shame. And it's been interesting because I have been hearing the narrative, and Colin Farrell himself addressed it, where he said that by the end of the season, he would be very surprised to hear the same feedback he's hearing now about his character, essentially saying, "Oh, by the end, you'll hate him. Trust me. You might be rooting for him now, but just give it time." So um, that kind of leads me to believe the fact that he's saying that we will be seeing it go that route. But I've been kind of surprised just at hearing this that so many people are fine. And I guess I do find myself getting caught in it a little bit too. I thought that's kind of what Victor was there for, to have a somewhat innocent person around, that to make sure that you could have someone to root for in these situations, because Oz is kind of the worst, dude. Like he shoots a dude. Not only does he shoot that dude, he gets that dude high. He gets a recovering addict drunk so he can get him high, so that he can win some influence over him, and then shoots him when the dude makes fun of him. Like Oz is awful. Like he's an awful dude. Even the things he's doing, like for his mom, they're all awful. Like take her to a home. I hear the argument that she could be gotten to if he's causing trouble with the mob, especially right now with people looking at him. But dude, you can't just leave her home alone all day with Alzheimer's. Like he's definitely a piece of shit. Um, so I have found myself rooting for him to get out of the situation just to see how it goes. But it's more of a Breaking Bad situation, like season 3 onward, where you're you can kind of tip your cap at Walt's genius, but you have long since quit thinking he was a good person or rooting for him or thinking that there's a good guy in there somewhere. And they keep us close by references to his mother, having him give advice to Sophia. But even that, it's like backhands, like that's her murderer giving her advice and lying to her while he does it about his mother being dead. So I don't know. I love this character work. I think Colin Farrell's been doing a phenomenal job. I think it's very well written. They do enough. I talk about the save the cat, kick the dog uh, style of character building, and it's to pull an old reference out of my hat. It reminds me of the like the Pete Campbell style of character, where they something happens and you just despise, you just loathe this character. They almost have go away heat with you. Or like, get this asshole off the screen. And then over time, couple of things here, couple of things there, and you're like, well, you know what? Maybe this guy's turned it around. He's actually not. Oh wait, no, still an absolute piece of shit. And I think that hammer will be dropped upon us at some point when it comes to Oz. Now, the episode ends with an unlikely truce. Actually, I can't go to the end yet, because when we talk about the screw jobs and pulling one over, I thought the whole scene, the funeral scene where they've got the informant in the basement, that was such great work. Like, oh my God. The tension running through how things played out, how the plan had to continue to change because you've got Victor, failing outside to plant the jewels in Vidi's car. And so he calls Oz, and Oz is in the process. He's gotten to this drugged out guy. Gets to him first, tells him what he has to say. Guy's like, I got you, Oz, I'll do it. But as soon as he realizes that the planted evidence won't be there, that won't work anymore. And so Oz pulls out his trusty knife and takes that guy down. And so now we're in a spot, everybody gets grabbed. They're going to check everyone's pockets. And you think, because of what has been going on, be very, very smart, be very intuitive to think, oh, he's going to plant this knife on Vidi. Because that's been the plan, right? We're trying to frame him for this. And he even says, it was probably you. It was probably you, you cocksucker. Sorry, it's another accent I can't do, but wish I could. So you might get stuck hearing me do it every once in a while. Come on. Forget about it. Like and subscribe. Anyway, instead we get the contrived fight and went back and watched the scene. They make a point. You can see Oz's right arm kind of tucked back, and he actually plants the knife on one of Sophia's goons, the my bald brother. I should never call a fellow egg a goon, so please forgive me, my talented actor friend, my fellow bald. A solar flare to you. He gets pinned for this, and of course, Victor is able to pivot, plant the jewels at his house. This lines up so well for Oz because that guy was one of Alberto's guys. He was there, or was Berto's driver the night he came to meet Oz. So this all lines up for Sophia in a way where, while she may not completely trust him yet, it seems like they have their guy. I don't think she's completely sold that that's really what happened, that this might not be a setup, but the way all of that played out was has so far been my favorite sequence in this show. We also should talk about the impending war on the Falcone side with Sophia's cousin. I believe it's her cousin. I can't the crime family stuff. There's so many of these lesser characters, which it to the show's credit, a lot of these folks that get named are at least in the comic. They're just different. Like Luca is not he's not Falcone's brother. I think he's maybe his nephew or his cousin. They're not brothers. And anyway, long story short, this Vidi woman that is talking with Sophia in the comics is somebody else. I think she is a Falcone. I think she's Falcone's niece who marries into the Vidi family. But anywho, in this case, she's used as the first attempt to get Sophia out of town. Hey, we should go on a girls' trip to Italy. And then her daughter comes up and she won't let Sophia even touch her daughter. So I don't know how she was going to sell that she would actually go to Italy with this woman. I don't know how she was going to keep that up, but clearly Luca put her up to that because she didn't want to spend any time with this woman. What's going on? And we have that confirmed later when Luca again just flat out tells her to go to Italy at this point. And that is where we have our truce come into play, where Sophia and Oz are going to be partners. He is going to help her take over the Falcone family. What's more likely, in my opinion, is he's going to continue to help instigate things and try to get everybody to kill each other and wind up on his own. So the other question is Oz going to make the same tragic mistake that other people have been making with him? Is he going to underestimate Sophia the same way that the rest of her family seem to be? Whether it's probably a little bit of fear, more so than underestimating, but it's maybe not more so. I should say in collaboration with, but they are certainly just thinking she's going to take this and walk away. And so it'll be a fun ride to see how Oz works his way through this next situation. And now is where we would again go into theories. If anybody has any thoughts on where this show is going, any of these side characters, do you have different thoughts about what the therapist will be doing? Do you have thoughts on if Sophia is really the hangman? Because it could be possible. Maybe her father, known strangler, committed these murders. She took the fall. Maybe she did them all. It certainly seems by her behavior that she did them all. And right now, that's where I'm leaning. But if you have thoughts on that or the future of Victor. So we mentioned Victor Freeze, right? That was the name that popped into my head immediately, almost as a joke, because I don't believe we will see Mr. Freeze in this universe. But I forgot about Victor Zaz. And I really don't think this kid will be Victor Zaz, but there is an opportunity to do something cool there. I don't know that I would hate it if they went that route, I guess is all I'm saying. Like, for instance, uh, at the end in one of these climactic moments, maybe whether Oz moves on or not, um, maybe Victor is made to be the fall guy. He has to fight his way out of it one way or another. When he takes his first life, hand to hand style with the knife, maybe he gets a big old gash and it sets a scar. And that, listen, I'm not. They've never hired me to write anything for Batman, so let's feel free to shit all over that. But I think there's a possibility for them if he's going to be a Victor character. It's probably more likely Zaz than it is Mr. Freeze. But let's see. Headbuck says I was doing something and I heard Victor's ass in my ear. Got really confused for a second. Well, hey, maybe they were taking it in their own direction. Matt Reeves doing his own thing here. But that really is about it for me as far as my thoughts on this one as well. Again, I am pleasantly surprised by the show. As of right now, I think I like the show more than I like the movie. It's only 2 episodes in. There's plenty of time for things to go wrong. But I've given you all my feedback on the movie before. I liked it, didn't love it. In one sense, it finally did something that some Batman fans have been dying for years. He's the world's greatest detective, and at one point in time in cinematic history, like the detective noir film was, I mean, it's a part of movie history. So the idea that no one had ever done a dark noir Batman movie when there have been so many well done versions of that in graphic novel form just was shocking. It felt like the lowest hanging fruit. And so finally it got done, and that I greatly appreciate. The execution, in my opinion, left a little to be desired, not only because the soundtrack was basically just a reskinning of Darth Vader's theme plugged in with not my favorite Nirvana song, but also it just I don't know. It was cool, but it wasn't what I was hoping for it to be. Unlike the Penguin, where I had pretty low expectations, and this thing has turned into so far a pretty exciting ride that keeps me guessing. And Headbug says here, I finally found a way to watch the series so I can catch up with it and know what you are on about now. Well, I appreciate that. And you know what? While we're here, I will say what you are on about. That is one of those phrases that I am just damn heartbroken that Americans never took. And we never co-opted that over here, because you try to say it is just nope. People immediately call like, what? Where are you from? Why are you trying to talk British? What's wrong with your mouth? That kind of stuff. So Make sure you tune in next time to see what I am on about. But thank you all so much for hanging out again with me on another episode of Oz and Agatha. A little bit of channel maintenance, just a heads up. I have a gig next Friday. I will actually be on a movie set helping to make a horror movie. So I will most likely not be here for a live show at this time slot. I feel bad. We just moved it from Thursday to Friday because Friday was a little easier. I got some meetings Thursday night. Anyway, I also have a pay per view this Saturday. Go check that out. Carnage Media. The preliminary fights will be free on our YouTube channel. So Friday and Saturday may not be good options for me. So you may end up seeing this show moved back to Thursday for next week. Worst case scenario, I will pop it out on that Sunday. We will continue to talk about Oz and Agatha at least once a week. So I apologize, easy for me to say, pal, for the wonky schedule here. But we do look forward to continuing to bring more of this bonus content. So when these two shows are done, there will probably be more stuff that we talk about. Thank you to those of you who have sent me horror movie suggestions. I will be watching them, and whether or not they all get their own dedicated video is yet to be seen, but I definitely will talk about them. They'll get added to my list on Letterboxd, so go check that out if you want a bit of an idea of what I like and what kind of movies we might be talking about throughout the rest of the month. So in the meantime, once again, Danny will be here on Sunday. So I appreciate you so much. And thank you, Headbugs. Great stream, Kev. Have a great night. I want to hear more about the movie stuff when you return. Excellent. I look forward to telling you guys more about this. Also have a finished project that should be releasing this month. So keep an eye out. I will send you the link as soon as it comes out. So follow me on Twitter if you want to be made aware when Lonely Legend is finally live. But before I get out of here, I want to shout out everybody in chat. Headbug, thank you. Got here early, helping out with the Agatha lore. Greatly appreciated. Bite Size Vikes, Johnny, go check him out if you're a sports fan. He goes live on Tuesday on Bite Size Sports talking football. Also a good Twitter follow if you're looking for some takes. He has been posting some film clips lately with takes on different players. So that's been a lot of fun to keep up on. So go follow him. Shadow Humor, thank you for stopping by. And I appreciate you hanging tight through some of the Agatha stuff. Hopefully we got to talk about a little bit of the elements of the Penguin that you like as well. But yeah, appreciate you, Shadow. I don't know. I haven't seen a game stream from Shadow too recently. Man, I need to get out of here. I can't speak. But let me know if you are, Shadow, and definitely check him out if he is. And Harles Barkley, the legend, thank you as well for hanging out in the chat. But that is it for me, guys. I appreciate you all for coming in, hanging out on this wonderful Friday afternoon as we get deeper into the fall and we all fight our seasonal depression together. So until next time, y'all take care. Have a safe and fun weekend. I'm out.